Hello, how are you?
Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you, Dad.
You too.
Hello to our listening audience. Welcome to Discussions with Dad, Faith, Blood, and the In Between. As always, we start our episode off with a reminder to ourselves and our listening audience that we made three core promises that we really do try to hold and adhere to. And even off camera, I try to adhere to these. Do you, Dad? Have you noticed like you're
Yes,
trying?
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our first one, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's
Okay. Our first one is even when we disagree, we will practice patience and love over certainty. We will tell the truth with care, and we will listen to understand, not convince, convert, or prove wrong. And I have to give a shout out to you. This last week, we've gone through our own little family sagas internally, and I think you've done a really good job of uh, that third one, really trying to listen and understand, not to try and convince or convert on from all different directions. And I know you know what I'm talking about.
right.
Uh, and of course, this episode will air
And it
a
was
few days.
challenging.
What's that?
And it was challenging.
It's still, it's ongoing, yeah, you're right, it is challenging, and that's what this episode is about. We're a few days away from celebrating the 250th birth of the United States of America. So happy birthday, America. And Dad, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think it's wonderful that
Yeah.
this country lasts this long. I love this country. I think it's a great country, greatest on earth, as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
Does it have some problems? Yes, of course.
yeah,
But
that's
that's
what we're going to
okay.
get into today. I mean,
Yeah.
the theme of this episode is growing pains, within our family, within our communities, and then of course how that impacts our country at large. And so I guess we'll start off with that. America is 250 years old this July 4th. As America approaches the 250 years, what do you think we're being asked to preserve? And what do you think we're being asked to outgrow?
Wow. That's a tough question.
Yeah.
Um, preserve is easy. That
Hmm.
part's easy. Preserve what the forefathers set forth.
The
Um,
framing of
the
our
framing,
Constitution,
the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence,
the
all of
Bill
the
of
above.
Rights.
You know, we got to preserve our way of life. And the reason why I say that is because it's gotten us this far pretty darn good. We
Yeah.
are the greatest nation. Most nations never rose to power as fast as we have. And I don't mean power as in military power. I mean just in success and well
Technology,
being.
advancement,
Exactly.
medical,
Everything.
health,
All of the above.
and any other would-be democracy. We're a republic that uses a democratic system of voting.
Right.
Any other attempt at this kind of crumbled earlier on. Some of them obviously have made it past 250 years, but a lot of them
Right.
didn't. So the fact that we've made it this far, and our good friend Bill Maher reminded us of this last week on his episode, that you know there are still three branches of government, and there is still very much checks and balances happening in action. Are they as stringent as we want them to be on the left? Probably not. We could also look and say that throughout our 250-year history, that the right has probably complained of a similar, kind of
Oh
uh,
yeah,
argument.
obviously when whoever's in power is in power, the other side is going to say, "Yeah, gee, I wish that wasn't there," or that
Right.
let's get rid of the electoral college. Let's do this. Let's do that. And then you look back and sometimes that would have been really a disaster in a lot of ways. So yeah,
Well, let's look at the electoral college. It's meant to represent the body of people, the collective, right? Would you agree?
oh yeah, definitely.
And it's supposed to give every state in the union an equal opportunity to elect president and vice president, essentially.
Yeah, to some extent, definitely. I mean, where it really comes into play, well, obviously at a national election, you know, um, the delegates are represented by how many represent House of Representative people you have,
Right. And
right?
that's based on the
So
state's population.
that's based on the state population.
Right.
So in essence, it's still almost majority rules, but it's really not. I mean, as you know, there's been several times that the majority vote was one way, and but the
The popular vote
popular
or the
vote, I mean,
versus
was
the
one way,
yeah,
and the other and the electoral college elected someone different. And
right.
but still taking
But
it
they still
farther
did
than
it
that.
because of the will of the people.
Exactly.
Because we need to
And take
explain that the popular vote could be misdistributed. Like, for example, in the bigger like Los Angeles, New York,
right,
Chicago, more metropolitan areas, they might go with the popular vote, whomever that might be, like Hillary or whatever, and in recent elections, and then but the whole state or the whole country gets to decide. So yeah, I mean,
right,
the electoral college's job is to make sure that what the people in each state voted happens and puts the right people in
right,
power, which is
right,
why Mike Pence got in so much trouble by MAGA when he, you know, like what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sealed, not sealed, secured, not secured, confirmed. I don't know. It's not the right
right.
word.
He was following rule of law and did what he was supposed to do.
Correct.
No doubt about it. Um, no, but the other side of that, and we only think of a national election, but the real issue there is the House of Representatives, and the Senate. And when you think about the whole system that we have, the three distinct um, separations, and
Mm-hmm.
also the fact that the House of Representatives is based on population of each state, so
Right.
therefore you're getting a good representation there,
Right.
and two senators from each state, which is really amazing to come up with the electoral college
Yeah.
in that long ago, 250 years ago, is amazing to me.
Well, because they saw what didn't work in Parliament. They saw what didn't work in their hamlets and in
Right,
the way that the way that they're I forget what they're called. They're not constables. What is the word that they're called? Whatever they're called when in the United Kingdom when they elect people in their local townships or
right.
whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
They learned. That's the hope and that's the beauty of what we
But it was
have
still a
in
pretty amazing concept to come up
well,
with, the
they
whole
were
concept.
very bright, intelligent people who were really thinking much further down the road, including even the preservation of making sure that no one can ever become a king. And as Bill Maher pointed out so accurately, and no one can argue against it, the reason that Donald Trump isn't a king, whether you think he would be or not, is because Congress has kept him in check. And
Yeah,
whether or not he abuses that or not, and whether or not he wants to be king or not, or I don't. Did you watch the episode, Dad, where
I
like the
did.
commemorative coins and all of
I
the
did.
all
Yeah.
the garbage? Yeah, but at the end of the day, okay, no other president I think has profited off of being president in terms of like like a commemorative coin or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, he's still not a king.
No,
We still have three branches of government. and my side right now really doesn't like a lot of the things that are happening and a lot of the laws that have been rolled back and a lot of the things that feel very much like we're headed toward a takeover again. When the time came, whether or not he conceded his loss in the election, he wasn't our president for 4 years. Joe Biden was. So
that's right. He lost.
right. So
Yeah.
whether he conceded it
Well,
or
he
not,
wasn't there.
right. But
Yeah,
okay,
and
so now
just last week, the Senate uh, voted against him,
yes.
50-48,
Yeah.
which that meant some conservative
Yeah.
Republicans, I should say, crossed the aisle and voted with the Democrats to be against him, and it was about the war powers issue.
As it
So
should be and as it is in a working democracy. You
yeah,
have people reaching across the aisle to secure what the common core of this country wants, essentially. I mean,
or the
these
common good of the
representatives,
people.
right? These
That's right.
representatives are supposed to be doing the will of us, not the opposite.
Right.
Uh, I don't know if you got to the part where he was talking about the G8 summit, where all of the tech billionaires were there for the first time ever. Did you get to that?
I did.
Does that scare you? For our listening audience, the summit that happens every year where all of the major seven powers of the world come together and kind of talk about the future of the world and etc. And I can you name all the superpowers? China isn't one of them, but whoever's there at the G8 summit doesn't really
Right.
matter. This year, all of the tech billionaires, like Meta, all of the AI. tech billionaires were invited to this G8. Now, that could be very scary if the world leaders decide to say, you know what, we're gonna green light this AI that we don't know anything about. Still, does
Yeah,
that
I
scare
mean,
you?
well, AI scares me.
Yeah, me
Well,
too.
I shouldn't use the word scares me. I,
It
I
concerns
mean,
me.
it concerns me
Yeah.
exactly. I think AI is going to be a problem in the future. I'm not that up on it. I mean, you know how I am with that kind of stuff and what I believe. Um,
There's an HBO, not an HBO. It's either HBO or Peacock. One of those streaming services. There is a documentary on AI, and I haven't watched it, but the trailer, I wanted to watch it, but the trailer in and of itself terrified me. And these are people that are experts. These are engineers. These are some of the people that created
right,
the technology that they've basically all but said once it gets into the wrong hands, the government, any government will be hacked. Anything is possible. And
right.
so and that cat is already out of the bag. So what are we supposed to do, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
And there's no argument that AI is currently and will continue to serve a really wonderful function for us. I mean, it has done great things in terms of medical advancement and like heart replay, like all the places where you can think, oh, this is a great use of artificial intelligence. But then you think, well, if it can do that, then how long is it
isn't
before
it
it?
always that way that there anything that brings good also can bring tons of bad? I mean,
Yeah, I
that's
guess
how
that's life.
probably every invention in the new world did that. When you think of even the automobile,
Yeah.
the automobile was great until people started drunk driving and killing each other with it, or I mean, everything that every mode of advancement probably has a downside to it. I would
Yeah,
think.
it's the cost ratio. It's
Right.
is it worth it? Let me work it. Sorry, I had to bring in some
Yeah,
AC.
well, AI though I think is well, you know how I believe
Yeah.
with all that.
We didn't answer the second part of our opening question, which was what do we need to outgrow?
What do we need to outgrow? Well, yeah,
Stupidity.
I think there's things we've outgrown that we won't let go of. It's more like what do we need to let go of?
What is that?
Well, like racism, I think we've outgrown racism. We won't let go of it. Let go of it. Let it die. And I'm not. And that's coming from a whole bunch of people that are victims of racism.
It's the hard part for that when I hear you say that, what I hear is I know your heart. So I hear you say, let's love one another, let's move forward, and let's recognize that we all have opportunity. The hard part for me is the people that still feel like on whatever level they're being held back and however they are. And I know
Well,
that that does exist still in the world too, and especially in this country. So how
I'm
do we
sure to
let
some
go
extent it
of
does.
I'm sorry.
I'm sure to some extent all of it does everywhere.
Right. So
You
how do
know,
we and that's the whole crux or core of this episode is how do we make those tweaks that get us on the right or get us back on track without diminishing the reality of the circumstance. I mean, I think that's starting with racism, but I don't want to get too heavy into racism because I do want to wait to have these conversations until we have some of our BIPOC community on with this, which will happen more towards the fall when
right?
we can have conversations and because it's not fair to have this conversation because you and I, yeah, it's easy for us to say like let's just love one another. I was talking with a friend the other night and she was like, why am I attracted to this certain type of programming? And I was like, my generation, I was I was born in the late 70s, but I grew up in the 80s watching 80s sitcom and then late 80s, early 90s. It was like we had a whole bunch of content on television that was very much the BIPOC community, in Living Single, Living Color, Different World, the Cosbys, Family Matters. I grew up with all of these different Martin, and live. I already said Living Single. Not now. I'm not saying that that's enough representation. I'm sure if you're in the Black community, you're probably like, yeah, we had 6 shows. You had 86, right? Like I understand, but what I'm saying is those were the shows that I was drawn to as a kid, and they don't make those shows really anymore. I mean, I guess they do, but Yeah, they still
No,
make
they
them,
don't.
but they're very specific now. It's tailored to what I think, uh, what they think a certain sector of the population wants, rather than just creating a show that was like universal, like Steve Urkel. Family Matters. It felt universal to me, but also I was a kid, so maybe I am naive, and maybe things weren't as wonderful as I thought they were growing up.
Yeah, no, I think they were wonderful. I mean, look at the contrast between the '70s and the '80s. Look at the shows I had in the '70s,
Yeah.
and what the contrast did.
Well,
Fred Sanford and Son,
yeah. So
Chico
when
and the
did it? Like that's
Man.
what I was trying to think with this person that I was talking to. I was like, when? It was the 2000s. It was the aughts. It was the Britney Spears and the Backstreet Boys, and it was kind of just, I guess, a whitewashing of content on television and in the public sector or sphere rather. I don't know. Anyway, we will
Mhm.
have a deeper conversation about that when we have, friends on that can share their perspective and give us a lot more insight than we have, the two of you and I. Okay, so let me ask one more question regarding the 250 years, the 4th of July, because I know you and I both love celebrating the independence of this country. On the 4th of July, we celebrate freedom, but whose freedom do you think America has historically protected best, and whose freedom are we still learning how to protect? Kind of along the lines of what you kind of said we need to outgrow.
Well, I mean, it would be wrong to say that America doesn't protect America's freedom, because we do. Obviously, we do. There's millions of veterans that went forth to protect America's freedom. When I think of
Right.
that, I think of what they had to go through and what they did to protect America's freedom. And it goes all the way back. It goes all the way back to the Civil War. That
Right.
war was really about freedom, you know. Um, to some extent. Yeah, there was other things involved, no doubt about it, social economics, all kinds of good stuff. But really, it was about freedom, and from them forth, the United States always stood up for freedom against in World War One against Germany, in World War Two against Japan and Germany that wanted to take away our freedom. Definitely, Germany wanted to take away our freedom. So in the overall grand view from 30,000 feet, we protected American freedom, and we're very good at protecting American freedom. Our soldiers, our military, I should say, are very good at protecting our freedom. And I'm proud of that. And as you know, that's why I do run for the wall. I do all that stuff to support the veterans the best I can.
So, what would you say to someone who is a younger generation who thinks that not only are we not protecting the freedoms of the people in this country, but that we are oppressing people in the Middle East?
I would tell them to go move there and see how much freedom you really have. And
Okay.
you of all people would
Okay, but
understand that.
sure. But now, yes, I know that that's what your inner monologue wants to say to them. But honestly, how would you get through to someone? Think of this as if this were your granddaughter, Dad. So
I
because this
think
episode is all about family growth and growing pains, and
right.
and you know
Well, I think I would use some clips of people that are smarter than me, really, and let them listen to it and see what they say about American freedom. I'll never forget the one, and I can't remember the guy's name. I've saved the clip, and I'll send it to you. But he's a black guy, and another black man is telling him how he's not free and this and stuff. And the guy goes, "What are you not free of? Tell me what you're not free of. Show me what you're not free of. Let's talk about it." And of course, he had questions that only one black man could ask another black man, and I think that's a good dialogue because I can't speak to that. It's not right for me to speak to stuff like that. All I can do is tell you what I've seen and what I've heard, and what the community comes up with, and
but
so
that's here. I'm talking about, like, if a young kid's looking at the situation going on between, the state of Israel and the people of the of Gaza. How could you get I mean, because, Dad, showing them something, you would think that on October 7th, 2023, seeing video of that, these people, these terrorists actually
there's people that believe that didn't
live,
happen. Mhm.
burning people alive, and beheading babies. I mean, on camera. I know you watched the whole film
I
too.
did too.
it's so disturbing, and there's a whole generation of people, I guess, that are either desensitized to the reality or have been convinced by, and this is kind of where what I think more, they've been convinced by people that have been radicalized in higher education and people that have been radicalized on social media platforms, and it's coming from either Russia and China or both.
Oh, I think it
And
is. No, I agree with you 100% there. It is a communist socialist movement to destroy America, and they were very they were very good at how they went about it. Khrushchev said, and Khrushchev was from the '60s. Khrushchev and Kennedy were the two that went at it in the Bay of Pigs, and Khrushchev said, "I can take America without firing a shot," and they implemented a plan to do that. And if people don't believe that, do the research, because there's a whole lot of that going on, and it was infiltration of our education system, and so many other things. And there's some
so,
really
okay,
good
so how do we, how,
documentaries on that.
yes, I agree. So how do we, if we're looking at this, and again, this episode is, really about growing pains in a family, in a community, in a state, and then within the country. So how would you resolve this if this were something that your granddaughter, my niece, was going through, and you needed to could either
I'd start.
persuade
I'd
her
start.
to go ahead.
Go ahead. I'd start with what I started with before. I'd say, I don't know what they're teaching you in school, because I don't. And that's boo on me, because I should know exactly what she's learning in school. But
Right.
but in history class, I'd say, let me tell you how this country was founded, what happened to this country in the early years, and still going on, but not, all the way up to World War II, and the thousands that died on Normandy, and the 58,000 that died in Vietnam, and I can't even remember how many thousands died in Korea. And I go, all that, I would lead her through that and tell her, which is a cliche, but it's so true. Freedom isn't free. Many, many people in our past gave their lives, and more, are worse to me. I mean, because I'm, how I am. Death is not the worst thing. I think there's a lot of people that came back, and it's happening to our vets right now. They're coming back. There's 27 veterans a day committing suicide because of the stuff that happened in the Gulf Wars, all the Gulf War stuff. And so I would let her know that it costs people a lot, so that me and you can do pretty much whatever we want to do in this country.
Well, I guess I
And that's
think,
freedom. To me, that's freedom. For
but I
me to
see,
talk like
so,
this to you is freedom.
but I don't think that they see that as freedom. I think, let me finish
Well,
this.
I'd have to tell her that. That's what I would tell
Well,
her.
but let me finish this train of thought, because there are two generations, maybe three, but for sure two generations in this country that grew up with technology from the time they were walking and mobile, and
Right.
they have, and the wealth in this country just over the last 30 years has just expanded. The middle class and the upper middle class has just grown, and there's a lot of wealth, and there's a lot of middle and upper middle class kids that are growing up in these communities, and they're isolated and they're on their phones, and all of these things are happening. Meanwhile, we're forgetting about the fact that we're in a country that, yes, we're free, and they take these freedoms for granted. They don't know actually what it's like to live in Russia or China, and they don't talk to someone who has come from Russia or China that lives here and explains how different it is. So then they're looking at TikTok, and like, China looks fun, and they're not seeing the
Right.
underbelly of what's actually
What's really going on? Yeah.
under
No.
a communist country. And all they
That,
know is what they've been, wait, hold on, let me finish my train of thought. And all they know is what is been taught to them in a history book through the perspective of these people who, some of them, I'm not saying everyone in the public school education or the higher education space have been radicalized, but there are a lot who are now kind of teaching, well, this was an imperialist idea, this was a colonial idea, and we have to undo all of that. And yet they're turning quickly to people that would do worse than what colonizers
right.
allegedly, or not allegedly, they we were colonized. But like any
Very
land
true.
we've talked about in the past, how can you conquer a land without conquering a land? And that's every land that's ever been inhabited has been conquered by
Right.
someone, including indigenous on indigenous people. Like the indigenous Americans here, definitely fought with one another. That's why they had different tribes, right? So my
And
point,
enslaved one another,
right,
by the
and
way.
and they took territories and things, but no one wants to go that step deeper. Is my point. So that's
Right.
what I'm driving at. Like the how we came to be the United States of America, I don't think it was perfect. How the infrastructure of this country was built, I know wasn't perfect. We used slave labor. I think it's wrong. I think the Bible, points to opportunities and moments where slaves were used and it was wrong. And so
Yes,
I think you can
definitely does.
acknowledge, yes, and so I think you can acknowledge this and say, look, our past is sorted. The way that our infrastructure was built isn't right, but these are the things that we do now, and this is why this country is still great. So I guess that is my question to you. How do you frame it that yes, all of these things did happen, but look what's happening still in Russia and China?
Well, I think you did. I think you just framed it. I think you really did. I think you have to frame it just like you did and let them know what's happening in Russia and China, and not the propagandized. I don't even know if that's a word.
Yeah, yeah,
I
we get what you're saying.
the propaganda that is letting them see stuff on TikTok and all that is crap.
And then and
It's
so
not the
okay, so
truth.
this is a really interesting conversation. I'm doing all of this thinking about my niece, right? And
Right.
there's another issue that we're going through internally about social media and how do you control and do you control a 15-year-old's actions and this,
Right.
that, and the other.
Which the answer to that is yes.
No,
You
I
do.
agree. I
Yeah.
think you have, if you're going to have children, you have to be a parent. So I think
Right.
yes, parenting isn't. You have to be responsible for what your kid is doing, and I don't think that like that's like when my generation in the '80s they said video games are teaching kids to kill people. No, I don't think so. I think boys played guns and robbers before there was an internet or before there were video games and
Now we used
it,
to have BB gun wars.
yeah.
Literal BB gun wars with Daisy Golden Riders that wouldn't penetrate the skin but would sting like crazy. And if it hit you in the eye, you were in trouble. So we wore goggles and we did all kinds of stuff. And that doesn't mean I grew up and wanted to shoot someone with a rifle that would kill them. We knew that would hurt. We
um
thought it was funnier than heck when it did
Well,
hurt.
that was something part of the systemic development of
Yeah.
our country, right? Like
Oh no, I
maybe
think you're right.
right.
I
So
knew your grandfather taught me how to hunt really, really young. And I remember the first thing I killed with a rifle.
right.
And
By the way, really quickly, Dad, I'm sorry to cut you off. I realized we did not do our disclaimer, and I think anyone that's been listening to us long enough knows we are not experts.
no,
And we are not therapists, and we are not advising you to be a parent or how to be a parent. And we are not telling young children that video games are not dangerous. I'm just throwing that out there. I've
I got
realized
you.
I didn't do our
But
disclaimer.
anyways, I saw the devastation that a rifle does to flesh. And
Right.
I think that was important
Mm,
because the video games of the 80s and 90s, well, the 90s and 2000s, these kids are shooting things and they've never shot or hunted or
yeah.
anything in their life, and they don't know you've killed something. You've
Yeah.
killed it.
It
And
will
you
never
look
come
at it
back.
and it's never
There's no
coming back.
player hack code where you get endless lives,
That's
right?
right.
Like
You
up,
don't get
down,
to
down,
hit reset. You
left,
don't
right,
get to hit
BA.
nothing,
You're dead.
and it traumatized me for a while, and
Yeah.
and it did. It really did. I remember it well, very very well. And yet I still continue to hunt, and I do hunt today. But I also made certain vows about how I do it, and
Will you share that with
obviously
the audience
not
so
for
that they know?
gamer sport. I do
Okay.
it if I want to eat it, and I will eat it. Oh, I shouldn't say it's not for gamer sport. I don't hunt things that I can't eat or won't eat. Simple as
Right.
that.
Okay.
I'm not a trophy hunter at all. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't be trophy hunters. All I'm saying is I'm not. So yeah, I think that was part of the deal, that we were taught the devastation and learned it. And maybe these kids weren't. But you're right, video games don't cause that. I
No.
don't think that too much video games is good for anybody. Me and you used to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning playing Simon's Quest, and
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
We had a blast,
Yeah.
and I don't know, maybe it warped us and we didn't. we didn't realize we were being warped.
No,
But
I think
that's not
everything
the
in
point.
balance, in moderation. I think,
Yeah.
same thing with social media. So getting back to what we were talking about, the reason I brought up, yes, we both agree. You and I agree that for the sake of your granddaughter, my niece, we are putting some boundaries on her social media activity and the time. However, going back to what we were talking about, whether or not Russia or China or someone is interfering, I'm sure they are interfering in our social media, and especially like platforms like, TikTok and things like that. What does our country have to play mom and dad? Do they have a moral obligation to dictate what these foreign countries can pump into our um social media? And if so, how does that, or does that, infringe on freedom of speech and the First Amendment?
Yeah, well, I think to some extent it's not just coming into our country. I think in general that media has to be somewhat filtered. Now, media has been filtered since the beginning of time. That's why they have R-rated movies, PG rated, PG
Not
13.
not not filtered, contented, so that you as a free American could decide what you want to like.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And I would venture to guess. I don't know for a fact, but I would venture to guess that we probably put propaganda into Russia and China.
I'm
I
sure
know
we do. I know we
I
do.
know. Yeah. So, what do you say? Tit for tat, or what do you say? I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. I wish that people didn't even think about doing stuff like that, and there were no wars. But that's AI is going to cause wars. I promise you, AI is going to cause wars,
Yeah.
and it might not be the wars we think about, but it's going to be war, and probably is already happening, and we don't even know about it. What they're doing to each other's mainframes and computers and all that stuff,
Right.
how they're trying to protect them. Yeah, it's just I read an article this week.
Well, I'm sure that's why
Actually,
the G8 summit had all of these tech,
oh
AI.
yeah, yeah. I read actually I saw heard a thing on radio, so I looked it up, and one of the side effects of these data centers. Well, number one, there's a data center in California already suing for water rights to the Colorado, and they
Yeah.
weren't at first they weren't going to get them right. And so they said, "Oh no, that's all right. We're going to use local groundwater. We're going to do this. We're going to do that." And then they found out they couldn't do that. So now they're suing for water rights to the Colorado River to run a data center. So you're going to see a lot more of that kind of stuff going on.
Oh,
And then
yeah. So
number
you didn't
two,
know that?
yeah,
That's what all of these environmentalists are up in arms about AI. And as a plumbing and heating person, think about like how big those buildings are. I mean, it's
well, I know
just
we put the cooling towers and stuff in them. I mean,
the
there's going to
the
be one
small
going up in
towns
Colorado
where
Springs.
some of the small towns where these data centers are, the local people have like literally 10% of the water that they had, like in their imagine taking a shower
Right.
and it's just a trickle. And this is kind
Yeah.
of everywhere. This is an issue.
Yeah, no, they're gonna, and some of that though is not when the data center gets up and running, because now they've got a system that the data center is going to have a self-contained system, and
To
it might
repump
use
like a
geothermal. It'll use geothermal, and the water is always the constant water, unless you have leaks, of course. But
right.
but it'll cool
And
itself instead of it like,
evaporation. I mean,
yeah,
you'll
like
have to pump
Santa.
some
There
water.
won't be evaporation. There won't be Santa Onofre won't. In Southern California, it had to constantly run cool ocean water through the reactor, so it would shed it back out. Well, this is going to go out and shed it and then come back in, within itself. So it'll be a self-contained unit. They were talking about some of that. Don't know if it worked or not. But what you're seeing now because of the water, and I just heard this yesterday, is amazing. There's one in Wyoming that's going up, and you're getting these man camps now, like they used to have in the old days for the gold mines and coal mines and the railroads. And this camp set up next to this data center has 5,800. This is what they said. I don't know if it's true or not.
Right.
5,800 people living in this man camp, and that's the people who are working on the data center. Well, I mean that's bigger than the town that it's setting up next to. And
Right.
so, I mean, think of Florence. Florence is 4,000 people. If they wanted to do a data center out by, Wetmore, in between Florence and Wetmore, and if Man Camp set up of 5,800 people, what impact would that have on Florence? Florence's water, just while they're building it, they're using that water. Well,
Right.
and all the things that else that come with the Man Camp. Not all the men in the man camp are good men. And,
Right.
you
Or
know,
or even men. Some of them might be women,
well,
to
yeah,
be
and
fair.
and
I
that,
mean,
when I say man, I'm using it as a generic term.
people.
I mean, the workers. Let's just say the workers. Predominantly, huge percentage. It's going to be men. Because
Right.
of the trades that they're in and the trades they're doing. Yeah, there are women doing it,
But I mean, it
but
it
yeah,
could also, I mean, one could argue that it might stimulate the local economy too. I mean,
oh,
at
it
the
does
same
like
time.
crazy. It stimulates it great. But there's people that bought 5 acre lots in this area in Wyoming they're talking about, and it's not too far from Cheyenne. And they bought 5 acre lots, and now this data center's right in their backyard. And the privacy and all the stuff that they're
Yeah,
going to
it's
give up,
terrible.
even because after it's built, you're still going to have a lot of people manning it. Not
Right.
5,800 people, but you're still going to have a lot of people. You're going to have a lot of people parking there. Um, yeah, I mean, and they're popping up everywhere. Right? They have
Wow.
to. If we're going to stay with AI, they have to. So yeah, there's all kinds of detrimental effects that are going to come from this, and some of them we don't even know about. Those are
Right.
easy ones to point out, but yeah, some of them we don't even know about. But
Okay,
anyhow,
so uh moving on with our conversation, how should a father respond when his child says, "The world you're trying to preserve is not the world where I feel most free"?
the child says that to me.
Mhm.
The world we're trying to preserve is the world
Let's say
I don't
let's say
feel.
Kellen comes to you and she says, Papa, this world that you're holding on to, it's not a world I want to live in."
I'd say, well, then name the things that you don't want there. Is it the Jeep, or is it the house on the golf course?
Stop,
Or
stop, stop. No, I'm
that's
I'm
where
I'm
I would
I'm
go
asking,
there.
no, go bigger. Go
I would
think.
tell these kids, what freedom are you giving up? Tell me what you're giving up. Tell me what freedom you gave up. What is
Okay,
so bad?
let me reframe it. Let me reframe it. Cullen is a smart person. She looks at people that are in their 20s, and she, sees, whether it be on television or on social media, she sees a generation of people who are in saddled with college debt, living in their parents' basement. It's that cliche, and there's no, and especially with the conversation that we just had about AI, there's no potential opportunity for them to actually have a career path like your generation had, or your grandparents, or your parents'
Oh, I think there's a
generation, my
bigger
grandparents.
opportunity, Matt. I think, man, I wished I was 20 years old right now and a plumber and a
Okay,
pipe
so
fitter.
speak to that. What would you say to
Well,
her?
right now we don't have enough people. They're paying, and I know this doesn't mean anything to you, but they're paying $20 over scale to get people to work on these data centers. $20 an hour over scale in a craft that already makes really good money, right?
Hourly.
They're giving you tons of overtime. They're paying $248 a day per diem to work
Wow.
there. I mean, there's going to be guys that make 300,000 a year working on a data center while it's
Okay,
going up.
so that's one sector. Okay, so for the people that didn't go into the trade of plumbing or heating or
Get in
elect,
it. I'm telling all you people out there, get in it. Start right now. Don't be a plumber. Oh, you could be a plumber. I would have rather been an electrician, a little lighter work. Go do it.
we just said 2 episodes ago that you were glad I'm not a plumber. Now you're telling people to go be a plumber.
Oh, yeah, well, but you didn't have the mindset or the
The chutzpah.
desire to do that. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, obviously, you've got to be, but for them, for someone to say there's no opportunity right now, that is wrong. There's tons
Okay,
of
so
opportunity.
I don't disagree with you, but there is a generation of people saying they feel like they don't have an opportunity. So what do we how does your generation, how does my generation, how do we help? Because I'm
We're
going to be
doing it.
left with.
No, we're doing it. My friend that I work with, and you know him. I'm not going to say his name just for reasons we shouldn't do that.
I think you already
But
did once in this episode.
yeah, probably. But they already forgot.
Okay.
No, he goes. He gets paid from our company to go to high school, right? High schools and talk to them about the trades. And it's not just plumbers and pipe fitters. It's all kinds of tradesmen go and talk to these people, and I think we just teach them. We teach them you do have opportunities. It might not
Okay,
be
so
the
you
same
think it's
opportunity.
it's community outreach. It's
It's
you're basically is what you're
education.
saying.
It's always about education. It's just got to be the right education.
Okay, but and who decides what the right education is? Because that's the
Well,
whole
I think that
right.
who decides that is the people who go down that path. You go put it out there. Right now, the colleges are like you said, putting out garbage and turning out garbage
No,
to
I
some.
didn't say that.
Well,
I said some people in academia and in public, education have been unfortunately
radicalized.
radicalized. I,
Yeah,
I
you
do
you
believe
you
that.
you have a better filter on yourself than I do.
Well,
Because right now
because
it's
because
real.
I know that there's a teacher out there listening who is buying her students pencils or their students. It might be a male teacher too. Their students pencils and
Oh,
Kleenex
I think
and
there's very many
glue
good teachers
and
left.
making sure that the student that they know isn't getting food at home, they're bringing an extra. I mean, there
Oh,
are
I know. I
so
think there's
many
very
good
many good
educators
teachers.
on this planet, and especially in this country. And so it's just sad to me, kind of just like how we talk about the right and the left, that these small percentages are getting so much attention and so much oxygen and so much opportunity to corrupt and disrupt. It's shocking to me. And what
Yeah,
you just said, I want to just, before I forget, I want to go back to, because you said, your employee is going into schools and talking to, basically like recruiting, like they used to do. And
yeah.
so like job fairs and things like that. So yes, I agree to that. Community based activity and engagement that reminds a young generation, you a get off your phone, b there are so many opportunities out there if you just look for them. So I think
Okay,
go ahead.
yeah. Well, let me clarify.
Okay.
When I say putting out garbage, I'm not saying that every teacher is not doing their best and there's not any good teachers.
Yeah.
But I generalize by saying the vast majority of the stuff coming out of those academia is not good. Okay. Now you hit the point. Are there still good teachers? You bet there are,
Right.
trying to do their very best and trying to get things done the right way. But the vast majority are not. The vast majority, to me, I mean, I know it's harder for a girl. Especially in the trades, and I wouldn't push Kel in that direction. But I really, really, really don't want her to go to college because I'm afraid how she'll come back from college, and and that I think that's the I think I well I know that's the concern of a lot of very conservative parents. Okay, that's putting it out there like it
Okay,
is.
so let's
Now,
let's look at
but I
that.
also know that a woman who doesn't go to college, unless she doesn't have the opportunities that a man has at all, she just doesn't.
Yeah,
Um,
the statistics for a female that is not college educated is not as promising. Like the path
exactly,
forward.
exactly.
But also more than ever in our country's history, there are more educated women than there are men. More women are
Yeah,
choosing to go to college and
yeah,
earn an education,
and I think that's fine.
both in the middle class and in the lower economic, you know, parts of the community of our country. They're going to college, and some of them are first generation. And I think women are going to be the hope of this country's future,
Well,
in that they're doing the jobs that we need, that AI can't do. Nursing, like, is just one of them. Education is one of them. I don't know all of the top five, highest paying and most
well, they
workable
can do
jobs
anything
for
a man can do.
a college
They
educated
can
female.
they
Well,
can do
of
anything
course
a
they
man.
can, but I'm saying where they're going after they leave, after they graduate college. Uh,
But there's very few of them that can lift up 4-inch, 21-foot lengths of black pipe and stuff like that. So, I
right.
mean, so that separates it the way it separates it. But um, I think that um, what we have to do, I guess in your format, because this is always your format, and it's a good format. But in your format, I'll ask you a question: when did colleges stop being about education and start being about profit and money?
Yeah, I think that's a question that a lot of people have been asking for a
Yeah,
long time, and it was when it was Reagan. It was the '80s, I think, when the boomer generation thought, well, our kids are going to have a better go of this American dream than we are. So we're making our kid go to college, and we're going to get them that doctor, lawyer, financial, whatever, accounting, whatever engineering degree that they're going to get, that they're going to get to that next level. And then that worked for a minute, right? Like colleges
yeah.
started filling up, and then I think people like, and so let's talk about this, because we live in a country that is built on capitalism. So why shouldn't colleges profit? If this is a capitalist society,
That's like
why shouldn't
asking
a
why
church
shouldn't
profit?
hospitals profit? That's like, I mean, if you want nationalized medicine and nationalized
Look, yeah.
education.
So let's have that conversation. Go,
Well,
you
wait, let
lead.
me tell you
What?
something first,
Okay.
because I blame my generation, um, my dad's generation, the great generation, the golden
Mhm.
generation. They made a terrible mistake, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but my and you know who my counselors were in high school, and they were good counselors. They were good people, and they had the best intentions in mind, but they told us a fib, and the
Which
fib
is,
was you'll never make anything of yourself unless you get a college degree. And they pushed that, and they pushed it, and they pushed it, and it's just not true. It's not even
well,
close
okay.
to
Well,
true.
hold on, because from their perspective at that time, if you're looking coming out of the like the Reagan era, that was kind of the truth. Like
No, this
everyone,
was
it was.
way before Reagan, Matt.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're going back to your high school.
I'm going back to my high school. I'm going back to me. That was the late 70s, mid
They were
70s to
well,
late
they were
70s.
pushing. I mean, I don't know. I think yes. I think what you're here's what I hear that I think you're trying to say is there were some people that would have been better suited in a technical institution or a trade
No,
school
I'm not trying
or
to
an
say that.
apprenticeship program.
I'm not. I don't like the word some. There's the vast majority of people would have been better off doing that than going to college. We still need the people going to college. We still need the doctors. We still need the lawyers. We still need
Do you think we would
the
have had
higher
the
education.
advancement that we had there not been a generation going to college for the first time? Because
No,
we advanced
because now
somehow.
I see the lack of the trade skills crippling our advancement. Right now, it's happening. It's crippling our advancement because we don't have enough skilled people to do the work we need to do. And data centers is a prime example of that. They're begging. They're paying so much money to get people to go there. It's hurting other sectors of construction because how it affects us. We don't do data centers. We've done clean room work and stuff on a small scale, but not a huge data center all by ourselves, right? So when we need people to do our commercial industrial work, we can't pay them what the data centers are now paying them to do it. And it's a huge problem, and it's making a shortfall. It's going to make a lot of people rich, and maybe it'll boost up the trades, and maybe that pendulum will swing back. I don't know. That's just an example I was using.
Yeah.
That's why I used it. You know.
Okay. So what, let's see. How do I want to phrase this? What happens when the country that feels better to one generation feels restrictive or unsafe to the next? In other words, the things that we'll look at the second amendment. It feels safe for you to be able to be a gun owner, right? And to have access to your guns. What happens if the generation under you, the one that, is being taught, active shooter drills and that go under lockdown regularly, and many more than I'd ever imagined when I was in high school, and thank God I, didn't have to live through this. Kids go to school and they think, is today going to be the day where we have an active shooter that's not a drill? What would you say to them?
I would say I would say it's not the Second Amendment that caused that problem. It's good and evil that causes that problem. The
Okay.
Second Amendment has no bearing on that whatsoever because all that does when you keep adding laws to me who are who does abide by the Second Amendment and do follow the law, which is the Second Amendment, when you keep adding laws to me that circumvents the Second Amendment, number one, you're circumventing the Constitution, and they're all going to fail, and they're failing left and right in Colorado right now. When
Hmm.
it goes to the Supreme Court, it gets shot down. But here's the thing: you're penalizing good people when the evil people are going to find whatever they need to do it. Now, had there been something a long time ago that you could snap your fingers like Thanos did on End Games in Marvel and get rid of all guns, yeah, okay, maybe that would be a way to do it, but I don't think so because we've already seen what happened in Great Britain and how many people get stabbed by knives. And if they didn't
Right.
have knives, they'd have clubs. So
Well,
it's just
I
a
guess
bad
that's why.
argument.
Well,
It's a
I guess
bad
that's
Second
why I
Amendment
don't.
argument.
Okay, thank you. I guess that's why I don't understand why conservatives don't lead with the problem and the origin of the problem rather than the instrument that's used to solve the problem.
Exactly.
Why
But
don't conservatives recognize that there's a mental health issue in this country? Why don't
oh, I reckon. Oh, I believe there's a
I
mental
know
health.
you do, but your party doesn't in their
Oh, I think they
legislation.
do. I think they know there's a mental
How?
health issue.
How do they how because they vote opposite of those kinds of things.
Matt, the people who got rid of no, they don't vote opposite. The people who got rid of the state hospital set up in California were the Democrats. It wasn't the conservatives. And
Sure.
they and I we were
I'm
living
not
out
going to
there when
argue
it
that.
happened.
What I'm arguing about is like legislation, like access to the communities that don't have the money are not getting access to mental health like the therapy, the counseling, the drugs, the things that are probably leading to, and then also speak on this. Let me get this out. Speak on what is without shaming. Is there a solution for when families are broken, how, like, especially underserviced communities and especially, the lower income earning communities, when there's a broken family or when there's a family that has one parent and many children, how, because that's part of, from, to me, when I step back and look at, how we can start rebuilding, it's there. That's like that, the foundation. You start with the foundation, you pour the concrete. So
Oh, I
how
agree with
can
you.
we?
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. The foundation is the family in this country. Always has been. And the destruction of the family is probably 99% of our problems right now. So
Okay,
yeah,
so I said I don't want
but you
to,
know how I want the family built back.
but
And
but
it's
so but the way that you want the family build back is in direct, and it's in direct conflict with our constitution,
no,
and
no, 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 it's not.
okay,
No, you must thinks I'm talking about something different.
oh
I want the
maybe,
family built back through observance of what God and Jesus told us. That's how I want the family built
right.
back.
So it's a conflict with people that say, okay, but we're going to legislate based on our constitution and our ethical laws, not the moral laws that you believe and are allowed to believe under the First Amendment.
Then you got what you got. Why don't you try it
But
my way?
I don't think it's cut and dry like that. I think that there's such a divide between people that believe like you and people that believe opposite you, that it has to be one way or another. When in fact, and this is why I'm asking, and why I asked the way that I asked, how can we
Okay,
help
so I have a question,
not
and
fix
I
the
because I
problem?
really
Wait, but
okay,
answer my question first. Not fix the
okay, go ahead.
problem. The problem
And,
exists, and it's in a country that you live in, and you believe in government and that the government should stay out of your life, so then it should stay out of their life too. If their families are broken, their families are broken. If that's how it went down, that's how it went down. How can we as a community and as a country help when it's broken?
well, you go back in and do whatever you can to strengthen the family.
So like fostering community programs.
Yeah, of
uh,
course.
uh,
Whatever it takes to strengthen the family. Whatever it takes to strengthen the family. The
can a
problem
family
we're
be
having
defined as something
now,
other than, and this is poignant specifically this week, can a family be defined as something other than a mom or a dad, or a mom and dad together? Can a
well,
family be a community? Can a
it is
family
that
be in?
you don't have to define it. I mean, there is families that obviously don't have a mom or don't have a dad, and they're still a family unit. But whatever it takes to strengthen that unit, and give them the support they need to be a family, has to take place.
so
Because
so
when the family fell apart, it fell apart, and that's what caused. And again, that's what communist Russia, and those people wanted. Now,
right.
here's the thing. Here's the thing that really is gonna be the turning point in the United States, because it's a turning point in Britain and it's a turning point in several other European countries. There's coming another movement. Okay, and when I keep going, you'll know exactly what it is. There's coming another movement right now that also is under the pretext of religion, and also has this idea of what the family values should look like, and it doesn't match anything in our Constitution. And yet, that there's people supporting that in this country right now.
I don't know. Can you be more clear? I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm talking about Islam. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking
Oh,
about the movement Islam's made and what they're doing and how they are pulling the wool over a vast majority of people. And they did it in Britain, but now Britain's woke up. You can see Britain's woke up.
but
There's things
you're
happening, but it
speaking
might be
to
too late.
okay, let me okay. I don't want to get into the weeds on this one because we only have 5 minutes left and we're gonna have a whole episode about this. But I think for the listening audience, I want to be clear that I'm not generalizing, and I don't think you should generalize that people that practice the faith of Islam are all leading to the same goal. I think that there are radicals in all types of religion that have one goal, and
I'll
theirs
save
happens
my answer to that for when we have if
the
they follow
discussion.
their faith and follow the book of their faith, you become a radical no matter what.
Okay.
It's just
Well,
that simple. And
okay.
I'll walk you through that if you need for me to.
No, we'll table that for now. Okay. So
Okay.
let's end on this. Can we honor what was beautiful about the past without asking people who were excluded, silenced, or unsafe in the past to be grateful for it?
Are they happy now and do they have a good life now? Then I can ask you to be grateful for it because our past, however checkered it was, got us to this point right now. And right now, there's so much freedom that you have and things you can do. And we've advanced so far compared to even when I was growing up in the 60s, which, as you know, Florence, Florence was Florence, and it didn't have the problems that a lot of cities had. And I'm talking about between races. We didn't have that problem, but I saw it every day on the news and saw it in the bigger cities and saw it when you went down south. And I say, look now what you have. Yes, the past was checkered. Yes, there was things that was not right that I don't buy into, but look what you have right now. And if it took all that to get us to where we're at now and your grandson or your son has a better life, I think it's a good thing. That's how I'd approach that.
Okay. Now, I hear what you're saying. Some people, I think, might argue that they don't feel like they have a better life, especially in the South and in places where people are just shot for sometimes no reason whatsoever.
That's that, Matt.
Dad, it is.
Nothing.
I mean, there are kids running. We won't get into it. I think that what you said is if you're happy that you live in this country and it's a free country, you should be grateful for it. Is that what your final
Yeah,
answer?
just be grateful for what you have right now. Did it cost people their lives and all kinds of stuff in the past? Yeah, it did. We've already talked about that. There was a lot of things that I didn't agree with that were not right, and but we're here now, and let's move forward on with what we can move forward on. Let's quit trying to drag up the past. You know,
So, well, I mean, history is
and that's
important, Dad.
advice for anything, family all the way to
Okay, so
society.
okay, let me say this then. How can we honor our country and still save room for people who are grateful for their freedom but are still hurt by things that have happened to them? And that's on a family level. How do we move forward and say, I love you, I'm grateful for you. Things in the past hurt, but what we have is a clear path forward, and we have a country where we have the opportunity still to be
Well,
whatever we want to be.
how does that always work? How did it work this week? How did it hurt this week when you and I had a major disagreement and I said that hurt me and
I
you
heard
said
you.
yeah
I heard
and you
you.
and how did
Man,
that work?
what do you mean?
How did we get past it? Because
We had a conversation.
that's right, conversation. And
Yeah,
you said, I'm sorry. And
right.
I said, I forgive you. And that's the same formula that will work throughout all society, all families, and everything. I'm sorry what happened to you in the past. I mean, for, you know, Uh,
And then okay, so then
and
it's
he's
kind of like
okay.
it's like repenting. Be sorry, but
Exactly.
also try to be better.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly, exactly. You have to say I'm sorry, and like you said, very, very, very wisely, saying you're
Thank you.
sorry is one thing. The word repent is a whole different word, and they always put that in a religious connotation, but it doesn't have to be. It
No.
means just like you said, be sorry, but
And
don't let
make
that
it
happen again.
actionable. Right,
That's
exactly.
right. That's right.
All
You
right.
know, and really the repentance of, even if it's not religious, the repentance is in your heart that I'm truly sorry that happened, and I'm going
Yeah.
to do my darndest to never let it happen again. That's
I
repentance.
think I think that there's a whole bunch of people in this country, and again, we'll have people on that can speak better to it. But I think there's a whole bunch of people in this country that just really want to hear from certain people. You're right, that did happen, and I am sorry that that happened. And now, how can we talk about that, but keep the conversation moving forward instead of stuck in the past?
Yeah, quit. You know, when I said let's just stop talking about it, you know, now I wished I was smart enough to think of that. That was Morgan Freeman that said that. Morgan Freeman was asked that point blank, and I don't remember if it was on CNN or Fox, but
Okay,
you can Google it and go to it.
I
And he
know
said, "How
I've
did you
seen the
know?"
clip,
Yeah,
but I
and
don't.
he's
Yeah,
right. He's
and he's a
brilliant.
different generation, so we'll have people on that can speak to it, but we
Stop
have to
talking
go for
about it.
now because it is time to say goodbye. I love you
Oh
very
no,
much,
you went
Dad.
over. You're in trouble. You better edit this.
I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you all for listening. Until next week. No, not next week. In 2 weeks, we will hear you.
2 weeks.
We will be back. Okay.
Cool.
Bye, Dad. I love
Yes.
you.
Love you too. Bye bye.